Hi everyone, and thanks for joining me for another Sims 3 speed video in Sunset Valley where I am building a fire station. Now I've just gotten home from work and I'm just doing this voiceover straight away, so I'm a little bit kind of puffed and out of breath because I do walk home from work, so yeah, just bear with me for a second. But to get things started, so you can see basically what I'm doing is well, firstly, I actually want to say that I polled this build. I asked you all which building should I do next, and Fire Station won. And I'm looking at the results, and it didn't win by much actually. When I first put it up, the first few days, Fire Station was like in the clear lead. But it looks like Festival Grounds have slowly crept up. So the next lot that I'll do after this is the Festival Grounds. I'm not doing the park as a festival ground because I prefer to keep that as a park in my Sunset Valley. So I'm going to have a separate festival grounds lot. But there's actually going to be two. There's going to be one that is kind of the main festival grounds, and then I'm going to have one that's like a festival grounds in the summertime. So that will be quite interesting. I've never done that before. But yes, anyway, so with the fire station, I placed down the lot, the fire station that comes in the lot bin, because, and I actually learned this from Into the Simulation, this lot comes with a stove or an oven, and that can't be placed in fire stations normally. So for whatever reason, EA decided to include an oven in this build, and because I wanted this building to have an oven for I guess firefighters, whatever, I decided to renovate or kind of reconstruct this lot so that I could keep the oven. And I mean, this one was actually pretty fun to put together. I haven't built a fire station in a really long time, and of course it's going with this kind of traditional look, and this is something that I am going for more for the town center of Sunset Valley. I think for the other section, the other kind of community lot space that I've built in this town, which is where the Langrick household used to be, I've kind of turned that into more of a commercial area as well. I think we're going to do more newer modern builds for that space. So a lot of the newer builds here are going to be in more of a classical style. So the fire station is very classic looking. I think it complements the apartment building that I built across the street quite well. And what I'm trying to do is, and this is where I'm going to revisit a couple of the lots that I've already built, particularly the first apartment building that I built and the rooftop bar. I just want to do some revisions on those buildings. Well, actually, I'm going to reconstruct the apartment building, put something else different there. I'm kind of rambling a bit, but I'm going to do some revisions to those builds so that things are a little more cohesive, because I feel like things were getting a bit random and I want some more cohesion in my builds, and I want things to look nice and harmonic. So yeah, so you can see I'm putting the front of the building here together, or the exterior together, and I'm going ahead and choosing some windows. I had a bit of trouble choosing the windows for this build. I couldn't quite decide on what I wanted to settle on. I knew I wanted different windows on the bottom, on the first floor, than I did that were going to be on the second floor. So yeah, I had to play around with them quite a bit. And the other issue with the the other challenge that I had with the windows was that I wanted there to be different windows on the top story and the bottom story. So the bottom story, I definitely wanted some like curved windows, but I couldn't quite find anything that I hadn't used before that I particularly liked. But you'll see that a little bit later on. You'll see me switch up the windows on the bottom story. I'm just kind of adding these columns to the building to add some detail and just some depth to the building to make it look more interesting. I tried raising these columns up so that they would go all the way to the top to, you know, be right underneath the eaves of the roof, but it did look a bit funny, so I do take those out a little bit later. At the moment I'm doing the floor plan for the ground floor, and just figuring out how I want things to look in the top story or the upper level as well. So there's 1.5 bathrooms. There's a toilet on the ground floor, but then there's also toilets and showers on the upper level. There's also a sleeping quarters on the upper level, as well as a gym. And then on the ground floor there's the chief's office and like a recreation space, so yeah, just a space where the firefighters can hang out, and also a small kitchen. You can see here I'm just playing around with the windows again, trying to find a style that is more rounded, and I wanted them to be quite long windows. So you can see I'm trying to play around with some longer windows that have more of a curved shape to them, but I couldn't really find, it took me a while to settle on something. So these windows that I've placed here are not the windows that I end up staying with, but they're more or less close to what I end up choosing. I mean, you would have seen in the initial shot of the building that I do choose some of the, I think they came with the Edwardian set from the store, and I've used those before on the arcade, and I'm using them again here. But I was like, the reason why I didn't go for those windows by default was because I wanted to use something different and make sure that there is some variation in terms of how the buildings look and the assets that they use, but I couldn't quite manage that with this build. So the building does have these nice green accents on it, and I was looking at some older buildings just for reference pictures, and there were some buildings that had this nice kind of deep green to on them, and it matched the roof color quite nicely, so I decided to keep that color and just bring it all throughout the building. Not necessarily the interior. I think there's none of the green is present on the inside of the building. It's mostly the exterior where there's these green accents. And yeah, these curved windows that I've chosen at the moment, these are base game windows, and I really like them. I think they're really nice windows. The only thing that irritates me about them is that you can't recolor the brick portion of them. So I was kind of stuck with this bright red brick accent on these windows, and I tried to work with it for a while, and I ended up changing them because I couldn't recolor that brick, and it clashed with the tone of the brick that I chose for the exterior walls. So I did change it in the end. So you can see I'm putting the texture, the wall texture on the building now, and it's quite a bright red. I do change the brick texture, but it still ends up being quite red, probably the same type of red that is on the fence kind of accent that I've got on the roof up the top there. So yeah, as you can see, I'm putting this red brick together, but it is very red, and it's not something that I particularly like. There's also a bug with the brick wall texture that I'm using. You can see that the corner pieces are a different shade to the rest of the texture, like the wall textures. There is a fix for it, but I never actually got around to installing it in my game. I might link it in the description of this video in case you want to use it, because I think I will eventually install it, but it fixes the kind of the different shading issues between the textures. So I'm adding some brick accents to the windows, and of course the windows do change to more bigger kind of grand windows, because I do want this building to look reasonably grand. And then I did something that I haven't really done before, and I started using like an interior wallpaper with paneling to go around the bottom story of the building. I just thought this looked nicer, and it was the look that I was aiming for in the first place. So yeah, I was happy to be able to put this part together. And yeah, so at the moment with the windows, you can see that the red accent on the ground floor windows looks fine. But then when I decided to change the brick to be deeper and not so saturated, or darker and not so saturated, the brick texture just kind of clashed. So that's when I came back and really did decide to change the windows. And I'm just adding a fence around the perimeter of the building. Well, not necessarily the entire lot, but more or less around the building. One of the things I struggled with this build is the wall that faces the loft apartment. It's just kind of like a big blank wall, and I tried to make it look as interesting as possible, but it is just one of those things where you know, it's not always possible to have all sides of a building look very interesting. The front is, you know, can be the easiest part to add the most detail to, but then when it comes to kind of sides of the building or the rear of a building, it can be quite difficult to make the buildings look interesting in those areas. So yeah, that wall that faces the loft apartments was a big struggle for me. I've got this little garden out the front in the corner here, and I was looking for some nice landscaping to fill it up with, but I did go for some trees a bit later on. Yeah, so I put in some trees, and in the end I do take the trees out and just replace it with a flagpole. I do try the flagpole to start with, but for some reason at the time I wasn't happy with it, so I took it out. And then when I was doing the panning shots for this building, I was like, oh, actually, I feel like it would look good with the flagpole. So I do put the flagpole back. Now I'm working on the landscaping of the rear of the building, and just going with some usual plants and shrubs that are found throughout Sunset Valley, again to just make sure things are cohesive and, you know, there's not kind of random plants everywhere. I do like the gardens to look nice and you know, to complement not only themselves on the lot, but also the surrounding environment. Yeah, putting in some rocks as well. So in terms of like gameplay, someone actually asked me in the comment section, or suggested in the comment section, that I do some gameplay again, and I don't have any plans to do any gameplay videos at this stage, but I am going to be doing some streaming, not regular streaming, just kind of when I have time to. I don't really have the time or the energy to do regular streams anymore, but I'm planning on doing some gameplay streams, and I did those on, well, I actually did one of them on the weekend just been. I streamed The Sims 1, and that was actually really fun. A very, very hard game, but I forgot to notify YouTube that I was streaming. So next time I stream, which might be this weekend, I will remember to notify YouTube. So if you do want to come and check it out, it will be streamed on Twitch. I do have a Twitch channel, and that is linked in my channel description, I think. I think it's there. Well, I mean, last time I looked there, it was there, so it should still be there. And yeah, so I've put the flagpole in, and now that I'm looking at this, I think, why did I take it out in the first place? Like, it looks fine. I think maybe because I couldn't recolor it and I wasn't like too keen on the green flag, but yeah, it looks fine. So I do put it back in. Now moving on to the interior of the building, and so we've got this kind of grand garage, this very big garage for the fire truck, and yeah, just going in with some brick interior for the wall textures inside here. I feel like it's a pretty basic interior. There wasn't really a lot that I could think of to put in this garage, so I did use some of the stuff that was already on this lot. So there's like the inventor station, or workshop table, whatever it is, that's still here. We've got these fire hoses, and I do pull out some clutter objects from the Fast Lane stuff pack to fill up the space a bit more. And I also went through the debug catalog and just pulled out some crates and various other bits of clutter. So you can see I've kind of pulled out most of the stuff that I'm going to be using, and I start putting it into place. Lots of cones and all that. There's some crates and some barriers and a nice drum. So you can see the street front of the fire station here, and I've got a couple of trees out here. One of them is actually in the wrong place. I do fix that a bit later on, but this is more or less the style that I'm going to go with for the remainder of the town centre, is to have these brick pavers that is surrounded by some just regular pavement. I have said previously that I do kind of struggle with street fronts. I do want them to look kind of detailed and nice and consistent. Like, I'm all about consistency. And yeah, I feel like I've kind of settled on what I want to go for the rest of the town centre. So some of the builds that I've already done, I might just go through and update the street fronts. Probably not the lounge, not so much, but I do just want to update the textures to make sure that they do use the same kind of the same brick pavers and have that same kind of style. I don't know if I will upload updated lots like for the apartment building or anything like that, because it's a very, very simple change, and the pavers that I use, they're not even recolored or anything, they're just in the regular catalog. So I mean, if you want to use those pavers, then you can go and update the lots yourself. But yeah, this is kind of the look that I'm going to go for with the street fronts of the community lots that I build in the town centre. And yeah, so I've pretty much finished with the garage, and now I'm moving on to the interior. Well, actually no, the front of the building anyway, well, the entrance of the building. And I've added these wall plants here, and I'm just recoloring them to be in the same shade of green that is found throughout the rest of the exterior of the building. And then I am moving to just trim down this roof piece a little bit, just because it was a bit chunky, and yeah, I just decided that it looked better when it was a bit more slim. So now I am changing the color of the exterior. So you can see I've gone with a deeper shade for the brick, so something a little darker and not as saturated as the other brick. And so you can see with this color change that the brick on the windows on the ground floor, actually it really does clash. So now I'm changing up the windows, and I started using these windows from the Edwardian set. Even though they're already on the arcade, they just look nice on this building. I really shouldn't fuss too much over using the same asset in multiple builds, because I am limited. There's only so many windows I can use, so I just need to get over the fact that I'm going to be using the same windows on multiple buildings. So yeah, after I did that, I started moving on to I started working on the interior. And here I am working on the entranceway, going with a deep dark wooden floor, just desaturating it a little bit. Again, I find a lot of the colors in The Sims 3 are very, very saturated. So one of the things that I like to do to, I guess, make them look a bit nicer is just to desaturate them. Some of the colors aren't actually so bad. Some of the default colors, it's just when they're desaturated, just a little bit, they just look better. And yeah, so I go ahead and do that. Even the red on the fireman pole in the garage, you can see it's just so bright. Like, it doesn't need to be that bright. So I do actually recolor that a little bit later on. Here I've just added these stairs, and I'm going ahead and recoloring the rails that go with it. And I can say that having built in The Sims 4 recently, and then moving to The Sims 3, one of the things that absolutely needs to be in The Sims 4 is the ability to place stair rails individually. If you haven't built in The Sims 4 and you don't know what I'm talking about, basically the rails go on, just automatically place on either side of the steps. and you can't have like an individual rail, like it can only be a rail on either side, and there's various issues that this causes, particularly with clipping. You kind of can't have windows against a stair wall with a rail, because the rail will clip through the window, and there's a whole heap of other issues that makes it problematic. But yeah, it's a nice change to come back to The Sims 3 and do some building and actually being able to place stair railing individually. It's so good. Now I'm in I guess this is the chief's office. Well, there's an office in the original build, and I assumed it's the chief's office, so I put that back together, or made another chief's office. And this is the only office in the build. I'm not sure if I think there might have been 2 offices actually in the original build, but in this one there's only 1, and it's quite a nice office as well. Like, it's very tidy, it's very clean and bright, and fancy as well. There's some nice chairs here, some nice leather chairs. I found a little bit of clutter to put on the desk, and I've also got this pot plant as well, which I actually really like. It's one of my favorite plants to use. One of the few plants that I actually like in this game, or any of the Sims games really. I feel like, when it comes to pot plants, like, there's just some crazy looking pot plants that are really difficult to use. So this is one of the more normal ones that I like to use because it's just so normal looking. And I'm also putting in a clock and just moving the lamp around and recoloring that. Just playing around with the decorator tools as well, so that the clutter just looks like it's more naturally placed on the desk rather than just using the slots, which can be kind of awkwardly spaced. And recoloring the bookshelf, a nice bookshelf that is, and I like that it has trophies in the back. I mean, perhaps they are awards that the fire station has won, or maybe that the staff have won. Yeah, I just thought it was quite fitting. It also was the perfect size for the shape of the room as well. And then I put like a high school diploma in there. I mean, it's not, I really wanted to just have like a certificate that maybe perhaps showed off a degree or some sort of competency. And yeah, just the high school diploma was the first one that I came across. Now I've put together this bathroom downstairs, or this toilet downstairs. It is very basic. It's basically just a toilet cubicle with a sink, and then just placing some clutter on the sink here. Well, just a soap dispenser, and then I pretty much call it a day. I mean, a bathroom's a bathroom. I think you may know how I feel about bathrooms by now. Although in The Sims 4 there is a bathroom kit coming out that looks like it has decent modular shower assets in it. It's one of the creator kits and it looks really good. I was complaining about bathroom assets recently, just in all of the Sims games. I feel like the bathroom assets are usually the same. They're always, a shower tub combo, a self-enclosed shower, and pedestal sinks. And so you're not really, there's not really much flexibility in terms of being able to create more modular looking bathrooms, or even, to vary the looks of bathrooms. They always end up looking very much the same. But I feel like this kit that's coming out in The Sims 4 will allow more flexibility in terms of bathrooms and how they can look. That's just from what I could see in the screenshots anyway. I might be wrong, and I hope I'm not, but it does look promising. So here I am in the entryway. Again, I had done the walls and the floor texture, so I'm just going and doing the furniture at the moment. And initially I wasn't really sure what to put in the entryway, but given that it is right next to the chief's office, I thought it could double as a kind of waiting area. So, if anyone has an appointment with the chief, then perhaps this is where they wait until the chief is ready to talk to them. Or, yeah, if anyone is just waiting to talk to any one of the staff members at the fire station, they would, it's assumed that they would just wait out here until someone comes to greet them, and then, maybe takes them into other areas of the fire station. And then going in with some lighting. So you may have seen in the garage that I use some debug lights. I also do that in here, and I'm going to do that for, I guess, any lighting that is multi-story, because Sims 3 has an issue where light can't pass through, well, there's no split level lighting. There is a mod for that. Lazy Duchess has made a mod for it. But as far as I can tell, it's quite a resource intensive mod, so it can cause issues with performance. I do have it installed at the moment. It just doesn't activate in build mode, so you won't notice it. But for those that don't use the mod, I am kind of making arrangements or considerations for that, and adding some debug lights so that the light from ceiling lights that might be on the second story does shine down to the first floor or whatever. I really did butcher my explanation of that, but I think you know what I'm talking about. At least I hope you do. Yeah, as I said at the start of this video, like I literally just came home and started doing this voiceover. Really, in terms of my schedule, like I'm trying to do at least one video a week. And that's actually been working out quite well for me, because usually what I do is I come home from work and then I will chip away at one of the videos. I'll do something small, whether it's editing the video, doing the voiceover, doing the panning shots. Like I'll do one of those things each day after work, and then usually that takes me about a week to put together. When I do the actual builds, that's usually on the weekends. But if I have spare time during the week, then I will do them. So yeah, that's just how the schedule is coming together at the moment, and it is actually working quite well for me. It feels like a reasonable pace. Like I don't feel like I'm rushing. And when I say rushing, I don't mean that I'm rushing to put content out. It's more like I'm not rushing to move on to the next project, because I might be more interested in another project. Like I would have started working on a project and then I thought, oh, now I want to start doing this, and then I will rush to finish the project that I'm on, simply just to move on from it. Me working at a much slower pace has really helped alleviate that, I think. Anywho, so I'm working on the recreation space for the fire station, and so we've just got the usual here. We've got a TV, there is a gaming console which was in the original build. I just kept that and plonked it with the TV, and there is a fireplace as well, which is nice because it is a classic building, so a fireplace definitely makes sense. Now, even though this is a more classic building and it is quite grand looking, the furniture, I wanted it to be kind of mismatched and not be so expensive, especially for like a fire department. I would expect this to be publicly funded, and so there wouldn't really be a lot of luxurious furniture around the place. So you can see, like, I'm kind of just slapping just random bits of furniture together. I'm recoloring it to make sure it looks, decent, but for the most part there isn't really any sense or logic to the type of furniture that I'm using. And I did mention earlier that I think there were 2 offices in the original building, and now there's only 1, but there is another desk space here in the recreation room, so I'm just putting a computer there as well. And yeah, you could just say that that is the computer that all of the staff get to use whenever they're doing any sort of paperwork or whatever, even though it's in the same room as the TV and the dining room. I mean, I can't imagine it would be a very peaceful place to be doing work, but yeah, it's there and it can be used. So yeah, and now I'm just adding in an extra chair in the living area and just adding this bookshelf from university. It just looks kind of like very basic and bare bones, which is the type of style that I was going for with the furniture. Now moving on to the kitchen. It's a very, very basic kitchen. We've just got the usual fridge, oven, and a sink. I thought about putting a coffee machine in here as well, but there wouldn't be any space for Sims to chop. Now you could resolve that by making the archway into the kitchen just a single tile, but I did like the double tile archway. that would have meant some extra kitchen, some extra counter space could be in the kitchen, but I mean, it wasn't really a big issue for me. I've played in the fire station or the firefighter career once, and I don't ever recall spending much time at the fire station. I don't know how other people play, like whether they play with the firefighters at their home, like in their home lot, or whether they would actually follow them to the fire station, because I never did. Although I did play with the firefighters when they were out doing, firefighting. But yeah, I didn't really play with them on the fire station lot. So now I'm up to the second story, or moved up to the second story, and I am putting these sleeping quarters together. So we've got these very basic bunk beds, and there is enough space for four Sims to sleep here. Previously there were 8 beds in the other build, but I mean, that just seemed like a lot. And so yeah, I'm just sticking with 4 beds here. And we've got some basic bedroom amenities. We've got a dresser and just this nice little chest here. I mean, perhaps that's storage from someone who is perhaps staying at the fire station for a longer period of time. They've brought a lot of stuff with them. And then I'm putting in a love seat as well, just somewhere for Sims to sit down. And I also put in a bookshelf I'm putting that in now, and then I go ahead and start doing some recolors. There is a tiny bit of clutter on the dresser there, just some folded clothes and I think maybe a mug. I don't know, some toiletries, and I also put a mug as well. But here I am just recoloring the love seat and then putting in some end tables here. The university furniture actually comes in handy, especially if I'm going for like a very basic, I guess, minimally funded fire station. Then it's just got this kind of very basic looking furniture here. So the sleeping quarters are almost done, and I'm just putting in one more lamp. I was trying to use a different lamp just to show a bit of mismatch between the furniture, but in the end I just kind of used the same lamp. And yeah, putting in some doors and recoloring those so that they are the same wood tone as the paneling. Also putting in some wall lights. Actually, I put a wall light in there, and then I think I change that, or at least take it out, because it just looks a bit weird just being right in the corner of the room there, and I felt like there was enough light in that room anyway. Now moving on to the gym and the toilets and the changing rooms and all that kind of bathroom stuff. The gym, that was very last minute. Like, I was thinking of what else to put on the upper level. Like, I knew I needed somewhere for Sims to wash up and get changed and whatever, but then I had this big space, and then I was thinking, what did the other building have? And I remembered that it had some workout equipment, and I thought, oh, you know what, why don't I just put a gym up here? So putting some exercise equipment. I do put a dartboard as well, and I do also put some just some bean bags around, and yeah, just make it look nice and cozy. A cozy little fire station gym. I mean, I wasn't really envisioning that when I put this together, but it does end up looking quite cozy. So I am recoloring this beanbag to be a faded kind of red color. I did want to put some red accents around this fire station, because I feel like, that's kind of stereotypical of a fire station to be red. But I didn't want it to be like too much. I feel like the previous fire station, or at least the Maxis one, was very, very red. It had a lot of red throughout it. So I did want to tone it down a bit, but still have some red accents around the place, like a red beanbag. Now I'm moving on to the bathrooms, and so this is like the changing space. So there are some sinks and counters in here, and there is also a locker. But at the moment I am recoloring the counters, putting in the sinks and a mirror, and then I just go and place some small bits of clutter. We've got some more lights here because it was actually very dark in here despite having the ceiling light, but I also put in some other bits of clutter alongside the lockers. Just a soap dispenser, and I think I also put in a towel rail as well, or a hand towel there. And recoloring the tiles. Initially I went for some lino, but I have lino in the kitchen as well, but yeah, I just decided that tile looked better for the bathroom area. And we've got 2 toilet stalls here, just more practical than having individual toilets. So 2 toilet stalls, and then there are a couple of showers. I used some of these showers from the Skylight Studio. I've never actually played with those before. I don't know if they're like the shower that came with Sunlit Tides, where Sims still keep their clothes on when they use the shower because it's more like an outdoor shower. I think this one is like a regular shower, like Sims will actually take their clothes off to clean themselves rather than keeping their clothes on, which looks a bit silly. That's why I didn't use the Sunlit Tides shower, because it doesn't look appropriate for this type of build, but also because of that functionality that comes with it. And just doing some minor touch-ups to the exterior. I did change the chimney on the build so that it wasn't so red, it wasn't that original kind of bright red. And now we're at the panning shots, and so this is where I'm going to leave you to enjoy the rest of the footage, and I'm going to say thanks so much for watching. As always, it's been a pleasure to bring this to you, and I hope you enjoyed it. This is available to download, and it is in the link to the download is in the description of this video. Yeah, that's it from me. I will say take care, and I will talk to you later.